I've been there scrolling through endless listings of professional gem microscopes, each one promising crystal clear views and a setup so sleek you could almost frame it. Then the package arrives, you wrestle with a confusing array of knobs, and the first thing you notice is the working distance feels cramped. The lighting looks more like a cheap desk lamp than the daylight-like illumination you expected. It's a frustrating moment because you've just spent a good chunk of money on something that looks amazing on paper but falls short when you actually try to examine a raw sapphire or a tiny mineral inclusion. That's why I'm doing this deep dive review, to help you avoid that mistake before you click Add to Cart. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, let's talk about the kind of person who ends up looking for a gemology microscope. Typically you're a hobbyist lapidary, a small-scale jeweler, a geology student, or maybe an avid collector who wants to see the internal structure of a mineral without sending it off to a lab. Those users need more than just magnification. They need a decent working distance so they can maneuver a handheld stone, stable illumination that mimics natural light, and a way to capture images or video for documentation. If you fit any of those profiles, the AmScope GM400TZ is worth a serious look. If you're just after a quick peek at a watch crystal once a year, you'll probably find this setup a bit overkill and a lot more pricey than a simple handheld magnifier. What makes this microscope stand out is the combination of a boom stand with an inclined pillar and a trinocular head. The boom gives you that long working distance AmScope advertises, which translates to real-world comfort when you're holding a rough gemstone on the rotating stage. Instead of having to hover your hand over a cramped field of view, you can sit back, adjust the boom, and still keep the stone in sharp focus. That's a genuine advantage when you're measuring angles on a cut facet or trying to see the growth bands inside an uncut quartz. The rotatable round mechanical stage is also a nice touch. You can lock it at any angle and keep the stone steady while you rotate the camera view, something that's hard to do on a flat tabletop stage. The lighting system is another practical strength. AmScope puts both upper and lower LED sources on the unit, giving you the flexibility to light from above, below, or both at once. In practice, I found the lower illumination essential when looking at translucent stones. It creates that backlit effect that reveals inclusions that would otherwise be hidden. The upper LEDs work well for opaque gems, mimicking daylight without the harsh glare you get from cheap halogen bulbs. The ability to dim each source independently means you can fine-tune the contrast for each specific specimen, which is a subtle but powerful feature when you're trying to document a mineral's internal fracture network for a lab report. Now, the trinocular head is where the digital part of this microscope comes into play. 210 wide field, high eye point eyepieces give you a comfortable viewing experience. You don't have to crane your neck or strain your eyes, even during long inspection sessions. The third port houses a 0.74.5 zoom objective, delivering a continuous zoom range that's actually useful. In everyday use, I noticed the lower end of the zoom, 0.7, is perfect for getting a quick overall view of a stone's shape, while the higher end, around 4, lets you zoom in on micro-inclusions without losing depth perception. It's not a fixed magnification like some entry-level gemscopes, so you can adapt on the fly whether you're checking a loose crystal or a polished cabochon. The digital camera integration is straightforward. Plug the USB cable into your computer, launch the supplied imaging software, and you're ready to capture stills or video. The software isn't the flashiest on the market, but it does the job. You can annotate images, measure angles, and export files in common formats. For a hobbyist who wants to post a close-up of a newly acquired mineral on a forum, that workflow is painless. If you need higher resolution images for publication, you might eventually outgrow the built-in camera, but for the price point it's a solid entry into digital documentation. Let's talk about the trade-offs. The most common complaint among users of mid-range gem microscopes is that the zoom range can feel limited compared to high-end laboratory models that push 10 or more. The GM400TZ caps at 4.5, which means you won't see the tiniest submicron features that a research lab could capture. That's not a deal-breaker for most hobbyists, but if you're planning to do serious mineralogical analysis, you may need a more powerful objective down the line. Another nuance is the size of the stand. The inclined pillar and boom give you flexibility, yet they also occupy a fair amount of bench space. If you're working in a cramped home studio, you'll need to allocate a dedicated corner. The stand is sturdy, but